Hey everybody, this is Drekken with CGM. I'm here joined by Salil, and we're doing a Legacy of the Void preview. We got into the beta, guys.
The very elusive beta that only the elite few get into.
And I guess that we're considered by Blizzard standard the elite few.
We're esports.
Oh yeah, let's do this. So, Salil, tell me, what are we looking at here in terms of the beta?
All right, well, for this game here that we've got on screen right now, we're in a new mode called the Archon mode. As you may notice on the top, we've got a red Archon versus another red Archon. That's just a small bug. It will get patched out, I'm sure, but...
Well, that's the expectations, right? We're in the beta, so you're going to have these...
A few problems.
A few problems, more or less. So let's talk about new units. What are we looking at in terms of new units for Heart of the Legacy of the Void?
All right, well, for new units in Legacy of Void, you've got a few Zerg units that are new called the Ravager. You've got a returning unit called the Lurker.
Oh, that's
Brood
from
War.
Brood Wars, bringing back the old school.
Yeah. Hydralisks here, you know, you can turn the Hydralisk Den into a Lurker Den. Right now, we have one of our red Archons. They're just kind of waiting.
So what about in terms of the Protoss? Anything new there?
Yep, for the Protoss, you've got Adepts, which are actually really cool units. They have psionic transfer. So basically, they get a shade that comes out of them.
Yeah.
It goes way faster than the Adept, but it can't attack. And then after a certain amount of time, the Adept teleports to its location.
So kind of like it's a harassing unit, kind of like the Reapers from back in Heart of the Swarm, right? Kind of like a fast-moving, harassing unit.
Yeah, and it's also very good for reconnaissance as well.
Oh, reconnaissance. I didn't even think about that. What other Protoss units are there?
You've also got the Disruptor, which comes from the robotics facility. The Disruptor, it can use Purification Nova, which it turns invincible for a certain amount of time, and then does a huge amount of splash damage.
AoE?
Area of effect.
Ah, excellent. So, in terms of Archon mode, I guess explain a little bit how that works.
All right, well, for Archon mode, right now, we have actually 4 players in this game. It may look like there's only 2 players at the moment, but there's 2 on either side. Myself and a buddy are controlling the Zerg units here on the top right, and then we've got 2 other players down on the bottom controlling our Protoss units.
Oh, so it's two people controlling one army.
Yeah, and what this allows is it really opens up a lot of pathways for strategies, because
and training, you could teach. Yeah, okay.
Because like what's going on is, at least for me and my buddy over here on the Zerg side, what's going on is my buddy, he's controlling all of the unit production and all of the economy, whereas I'm focusing on moving around the units, making sure stuff's in check.
So, what about? I guess we didn't really do an overview. What about Terran? What did Terran get?
All right, well, Terran, they've currently only got a single unit called the Cyclone. Now this unit
only one.
They've only got the one, but they did get a lot of upgrades coming into this. Siege tanks can now get picked up while Siege. Thor, they got a bit of a revamp as well.
That changes up the meta.
And, you know, Terran, they had a lot of utility coming into Legacy of the Void. So it did help that, you know, the other races were trying to expand their versatility.
Were they a bit more dominant in Heart of the Swarm?
There were periods of it. Heart of the Swarm... It was a bit of an off game. There wasn't so much of a dominant race, I'd like to say.
What in terms of let's talk about some mechanics. What are some of the mechanic changes in Legacy of the Void from Heart of the Swarm?
All right. Well, the first one is the mineral fields. They're a lot weaker now compared to Heart of the Swarm. Half of the mineral fields will start with the regular 1,500 minerals in them. The other half, though, will start with 750. What this causes is that your bases mine out much quicker. So as you can see, you know, we're 20 minutes into the game, but players, they have to expand and get more bases so that they can keep their economy going much faster. But plus also along with that, you mine a lot faster as expected. So
really? You like each unit, each worker yields more minerals?
Not so much that, but it's more that you get a much quicker initial start into the game, because you also start with 12 workers now compared to the 6 of the previous games.
So we're looking at a lot more faster paced, more dynamic game than Heart of the Swarm, I'm thinking.
Indeed. It's a lot faster. You know, before in Heart of the Swarm, Wings of Liberty, even StarCraft 1, you had a good time period, about 5-ish minutes in-game, where you would just be sitting around making workers, getting your tech up, whereas now, you know, you start with your gateways, your barracks, what have you, right off the bat.
New maps. Anything new maps and like that?
A whole bunch. Right now, even we're on a new one called Orbital Shipyard, and I'd like to say the maps, at least to start off with Legacy of the Void, they seem to be pretty good. I'm excited for these new maps because Blizzard, they've been improving their map making ability.
I think it's a big deal that Blizzard was willing to make the changes to their economy. You'd think that is a very sacred thing, that they would have just, they wouldn't want to desecrate what they've done in the past and how StarCraft. I think being able to change the way the economy works in StarCraft is a big deal. I think that's the biggest change. Like, the units are nice and stuff, but I think the biggest change is the economy, making this game more dynamic than it was before.
Well, the economy has changed in the fact that you have to expand a lot quicker and that you start with more workers.
Yeah, you can't really just sit on one or two bases. You have to.
Yeah, 3 bases. It might actually be the new minimum compared to the 2 of Heart of the Swarm and the 1 of Wings of Liberty. But the thing is that the economy hasn't changed completely.
Mm-hmm.
You still have max efficiency of mining at the same amount of bases as previous games. So it's not too radical of a change, but it's just enough that it speeds up the game.
I think speeding up the game is what's exciting. I'm a big fan of StarCraft, and I just the concept of being able to see the game move at a much faster pace is exciting. Oh, these lurkers are going to burrow down.
Yep.
In terms of the way the actual, let's talk about BattleNet. Any changes to BattleNet per se?
Well, they're going to be adding in automated tournaments back as like Warcraft 3.
I'm thinking of Warcraft 3. That's what I'm hearing. When I hear automated tournaments, I think Warcraft 3. That's exciting.
Yeah, they're going to be having automated tournaments. Of course, you know, they got Archon mode in here. And I feel they're trying to make it a bit less lonely than it used to be. Especially with Archon mode, as you said, training other people is so much easier than putting up people versus AIs.
Yeah, I feel that opens a lot more training possibilities. So when it comes to the story mode, I guess, are we going to have a new campaign, I'm presuming?
We should be, yes. And
since it's called Legacy of the Void, I'm going to assume it's going to be the StarCraft campaign. Whoop! That Colossus just got picked.
Yeah.
Picked in.
Just to note here is that because it's Archon mode and there's 2 players, what's happening is that the roaches and the ground forces, they're actually being controlled by a completely different player than the spellcasters and the more micro-intensive units. So what's happening is that it's actually making deeper battles in this.
Because it's doing more than one person can probably do on their own.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I guess you're going to see a lot more dynamic games that way when you can have 2 people control. Do you think they'll do tournaments with Arcane mode?
I would hope so. Archon mode is just really fun.
I think it'd be exciting to see some tournaments on the Archon mode because you'll get a whole different dynamic set of play.
Yeah. And plus, also, it brings in a lot of the folks that, you know, maybe they don't like the 1 versus 1 style of StarCraft.
Right.
But it's not so much 2 versus 2, but it's 1 versus 1 with 2 hands in the same pot.
And that's obviously going to make a huge difference in terms of the dynamics of play. I'm guessing they changed a lot of units too. Like units got a lot of different changes. I'm going to presume. Like if I remember correctly, the battle cruisers received a new ability.
Yeah, they did. Battle cruisers can teleport anywhere onto the map.
That sounds like I guess this is beta, so that could change. I don't know how effective that sounds scary. That frightens me. Just imagining battle cruisers just teleporting from one end to the next. Sounds incredibly.
Colossi got nerfed as well. They don't. Their area of effect, their range got reduced.
Okay.
And the damage they deal is a little bit different. Tempests, they're very big units. They can actually now have an ability where they can deal 550 damage to a target. Oh,
you just noticed someone has said in the chat that the Colossi have been nerfed very hard.
Yeah. Our Protoss friends here, they had 6 Colossi. They all died within seconds because with the range reduced, Hydralisks and Roaches, the Zerg army got in so easily.
The Thermal Lance upgrade?
Even with the Thermal Lance, it's reduced.
Wow. Colossus be free.
Yep. And, you know, the Ravagers here, they have an ability called Corrosive Bile. They allow it to deal damage at one target in anywhere of its range, and Colossi would have to be in the same range, and that makes it even more difficult.
Man, so right now it seems Zerg is very dominant in this beta.
Just a little bit, but
But you know what? It's the beta, so
it is beta.
by the time someone watches this a couple months, all of this could be irrelevant because if I remember correctly, from Heart of the Swarm, so many things changed in comparison
Yeah.
from beta to actual
To release
game.
Yeah. Heart of the Swarm, the early beta had a unit called the Warhound. It was actually ridiculous because it killed anything. Its hard counters lost to it, so they removed it. They changed a lot of things, and Heart of the Swarm became the game we know right now. But Legacy of the Void will most likely be changing come release. As we can see, these Colossi, they're having a hard time.
So yeah, you know what? I feel like we're getting close to the end of this match here. So I want to say that I think that it's all beta, and we're pretty much coming to the end. Like by the time this game comes out, this could be totally different. So guys, basically, like, subscribe, check out CGM on YouTube, and we'll see you guys next time.